I'm Diana Thorneycroft. I'm a visual artist. This is Winnipeg, Manitoba, and this is my studio. This is the book that started everything. In 2003, my mother sent me this as a Christmas gift. Xmas 2003, Dear Di, thought you might enjoy this book because there are many paintings that have never been shown before. Love, Mom and Dad. And my first reaction was, oh God, I want to regift this because it's the Group of Seven and Tom Thomson. They're passé. You've seen their posters everywhere. They're on calendars. I mean, you know, they have nothing to do with contemporary art, nothing to do with me. But I thought, okay, it's my mother's gift, and I decided to hang on to it. And I'm glad I did, because in 2005, Plug-In, which is a contemporary art gallery here in Winnipeg, decided to have a fundraiser called the Group of Seven with a Twist. And I remembered this book that my mother gave me, and so I started going through the book looking for a painting I could use, and my God, especially Tom Thomson, they knew a thing or two about painting. And in fact, the painting I ended up using was Early Snow by Tom Thomson. That, coincidentally, the Winnipeg Art Gallery had just purchased. So I decided to go down to the WAG, and I bought a poster of Tom Thomson's famous painting, and that was the very first piece that really started Group of Seven Awkward Moments. When I was doing research on Tom Thomson's death, I learned about an American-German by the name of Martin Blecher, who had been in a fight with Tom the night before. And what I also understood is that there was a little bit of tension, that he was jealous, and maybe he had his eyes on Winnie, Tom's girlfriend. So in my scenario, I had also found out that Tom had this beautiful white tent that he used to sleep in, and he loved to fish. So I decided to take the jack pine landscape and reenact it with the foreboding of the eventual demise of Tom Thomson. Here you have Tom and Winnie boinking in the tent, and the jealous boyfriend is watching the scene. But this also has the tree that I made, and I'll just show you This is the jack pine tree. There were about 30 people at this retreat, 20 people, and they would come in to the studio and say, oh my God, that's the jack pine. You're making the jack pine. And it just made me feel just so happy that people would recognize it, and that I was bringing to life this iconic tree that so many people had seen two-dimensionally. It was really magical. This is the west wind, and similar to the jack pine, I had digitally removed the tree and built Tom's iconic tree. The narrative about this one, once again, I was still trying to figure out the mystery of Tom Thomson's death. And I had read somewhere, and I gotta say this percentage fluctuates in my narrative, that most men that are found drowned are found with their flies open. So it sort of made sense to me that he was peeing over the side of his canoe, and maybe he just fell in. So here we have Tom in the canoe. He's peeing over the side of the canoe. I decided to put in blackbirds, and it was, you know, a little bit too obvious that blackbirds symbolizing death. Then I just thought, I'll just put in a bear, and so I put this bear in, and you know, sometimes you just don't know why you make these decisions. Why I put the megaphone on the bear? I guess because maybe he sort of looked like a lifeguard. So here you have this lovely bear warning Tom, you better sit down or else you're going to fall in and drown. And that's exactly what happened. I have been accused of being disrespectful towards Tom Thomson and the Group of Seven, but in fact, it's partially true. My intent was to subvert them, but I also have honored them by using their work in my practice and encouraging a dialogue with their work. They're big boys. They're dead, but their reputations aren't going to get tarnished by one photographer from Winnipeg who's using their work. And I think, in fact, when the show opened at the McMichael in Kleinburg, the gallery showed the paintings next to my photographs, and that was just phenomenal. And I think that actually, when people went to visit the gallery and they saw my work and they saw the original paintings, it encouraged a dialogue. It encouraged the younger audience especially to go back and to look at these revered artists and to understand this is our past. And my work, I think, is the present. And maybe, hopefully, the people who saw, especially the younger artists, will bring us into the future with their interpretation of the Canadian identity and the landscape and all these icons.